Hello, my name is Patricia Ordóñez Franco. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras campus, and I'm here to talk to you about mutually beneficial collaborations to broaden the participation of Hispanics in data science. First of all, I'd like to thank Latifa Jackson from Howard University and Heriberto Acosta Maestro from Nova Southeastern University for broadening participation in data mining. They basically have been BPDM lately in the last few years, keeping alive the initiative that was started many years ago by Carlos Suarez, and I just am eternally grateful and honored to have been invited. Here, I just wanted to show you some statistics. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit of what my university looks like. We are a minority university in the United States. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. So our university is 99% Hispanic. The College of Natural Science is 60% women. In particular, in biology, we have more women than 60%, whereas in computer science, we are around 15%. And so this initiative that we're doing right now was started to kind of change those numbers and change that balance. So why am I showing you these statistics? Well, I think it's important for us to give you evidence of how big the data divide is becoming and how great it is happening. Here I'm trying to show you the Hispanic PhDs awarded in science and engineering at our university versus our rank in the top 20 doctorate granting institutions for the number of science and engineering PhDs for Hispanics in the US. And so what I did was basically graph the number of PhD students that we have. Now each of these numbers for every year is 5 years prior. And they always take 2 years apart. So these are the most up-to-date numbers that we have. So the numbers released in 2020 were for 2018. When I arrived in Puerto Rico, basically for 3 years, the first 3 years, we were not ranking number one. And I've just basically seen this decline since I've been there. I felt it's important to show this because if we see the number of PhDs dropping at the top research university on the island, then you know how it must be at the other universities. And then even this trend has been seen in K through 12 as well. So if you notice, in 2011 and 2012, there were over 300 PhDs awarded. It was 309 in 2011 and 302 in 2012. And now in 2018, we are now down to 142. That is less than half of the, we are graduating less than half of the PhDs that are happening, that we used to when I arrived. What is this? This is not just due to the digital divide, it's also due to many natural and anthropogenic disasters. And this is happening across our country. So I want you to think of this, Puerto Rico, as a microcosm of what's happening in rural universities and other minority universities across the country. And in regions where in universities where there are regions of lots of climate change. And here are the notable events. I won't get into them. You see that after 2016, there was a drastic change in what's happening in the university. That's because half of our funding was cut. Then the natural disasters, Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria, which also happened in 2017. So 2016 to 2017 were big years. Now, 2019, we've had earthquakes and COVID. And the list goes on. I can't go on more about this because I don't have time, but if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to talk to anyone about this. So let's talk about solutions. I'm going to be presenting work on 2 grants that we've done that were only possible by developing mutually beneficial collaborations. This one is with NIH. The second one is with NSF. This was a 5-year grant, and we got a 1-year extension thanks to Hurricane Maria. To complete the work, and so we are in the final year. First, I want to show you the key personnel in our website. If you want to get more information, we have basically 5 of us are from the UPR, but we have to have somebody from another university in a higher research university to help us with this. And this person was basically one of our students, former students, Rafael Irizarry. He's at Harvard School of Public Health and one of the leaders now in biomedical data science in the world. one of the top leaders. And he was wanting to do more for Puerto Rico, but couldn't do it himself, and so he got involved with us in this grant, and it has been a wonderful collaboration. We have 2 people from mathematics and 2 people from computer science. You see my picture there. In the computer science, I have Maria Igle Perez in mathematics, Luis Raúl Perici in mathematics, Humberto Ortiz in computer science. And you'll see that Maria and I are the co-PIs, whereas Jose Garcia Radas in biology is the PI. We had to actually convince him to be a part of this because at first there was a bit of imposter syndrome going on, I think, in the sense that he didn't feel that he was computational, and it's just incredible that now he's one of our biggest fans, and of course is now doing computational research as of this summer, and I'll explain how that happened when he was purely biology lab before. He's also one of the has coordinated more R25s than anybody on our campus, and it just has a wonderful mentoring capability with students, so perfect fit for this as a PI for this grant. So we need to talk about what those key collaborators were, and so we had basically 3 universities in the grant, and then 1 university that we just worked with over time, and we have this relationship with. And so the 3 that were BD2K centers, because the grant was basically trying to create relationships with BD2K centers, were the Patient-Centered Information Commons at Harvard University Medical School, the Center for Big Data Translational Genomics in University of California, Santa Cruz, and the Center for Causal Modeling and Big Discovery of Biomedical Knowledge from Big Data. We picked these universities in particular because we do a lot of biomedical research, but it's simply not computational, at least, and not until now. We have had this relationship with the biology department of MIT when they were doing their biological quantitative workshops, and this continued when they created the NSF Center for Science and Technology, the Center for Brain, Minds and Machines, and so they are also a critical part of this. The important part when you think of your key collaborators is that they should be invested in both student and faculty development. Some of them were just interested in student development, but you need to have at least one of those. And what we find is that the better relationships are the ones that have been with both student and faculty. The ones that help us the most are the ones that are interested in both student and faculty development. We basically recruit students in their sophomore year. We prepare them with workshop seminars and course sequences in big data was what was originally proposed. And then we proposed to do activities for all, meaning that we did an innovative hackathon once a year and at least one workshop once a year for all people. That has actually changed a little bit. We actually now do at least a workshop every semester. We still do only one hackathon a year. And the curriculum has changed, and I'll explain that a little bit more. And the cohort activities, monthly gatherings with speakers, have actually become not just for the cohort. They have actually become for the entire community, basically our campus. So the course sequence for undergraduates. Here the idea was that we were going to offer specific tracks for students from each discipline to make them able to collaborate in solving problems in big data and interdisciplinary teams. But we had a problem in that we have a hiring freeze and we don't retain or attract young faculty in data science or computational biology, especially given all the chaos in the last few years. So then what can we do and use from other disciplines to try and build this program? So what you see here, the ones in black are borrowed from other disciplines and what we were requiring for these particular sequences. And the courses in blue were the ones that we were trying to create and revamp from existing courses. And we've basically been successful and are even thinking of adding more courses to create this data science track or certification that we're trying to do first. And we haven't gotten there yet, but it's been a very successful adventure to take this, and I think we're on the right track. With the faculty, basically what we were trying to do was do workshops and seminars and have them and hackathons, invite them to them as participants or mentors, and then offer short sabbaticals or internships at our partners, fund them actually, fund summer research experiences and workshops and other activities. And also, there was a call for funding faculty computational search with the returning students in IDIBG2K once a year. But that was a UPR matching grant, and once our funds were cut, that has been cut. These are just examples of the symposiums that we have created. And so with the symposium, we realized we needed something in the first year to kick it off. And so the symposium was basically one to have people talk about health informatics, and we added a hackathon to it, which was called Hacking Health in the Caribbean. So there was a hackathon at Shellac. Then in 2017, we had the Healthcare Innovation Replicathon. We worked with Harvard to create it, and not just Harvard, with Titus Brown of the University of California, Davis. So we found other, collaborators, and Tracy Teal of Data Carpentries. And so the second one, we started doing data carpentry workshops to bring in the faculty, and then developed a replicathon with Raffaele Risari and Titus Brown to basically try and to talk about the importance of reproducing research. And so it was a competition. It was like a hackathon to reproduce research and to replicate research, to see, if you were able to replicate it and with other data. And then finally, the hackathon happened in 2018, where it was focused more on hurricanes. And so we basically united with people that wanted to develop ad hoc networks, and then we added the data component to it so that we could basically focus on how do we help people analyze the data that comes from the networks that they were all trying to hack. And finally, then in the following year, we had the IQ hackathon in 2019, and that IQ hackathon actually was a kickoff from the next program that I'm going to talk to you about shortly. And then we also had this year a Women in Data Science, because we realized that as we were going more computational, we were attracting more men than women. And so this was an effort across the island to get more women into data science. What did we do differently at these things? We tried to make them interdisciplinary, inter-universe, and intersectoral, inter-university, not universe, inter-university. So basically we invited universities, not just from Puerto Rico, but also from the US. So we tried to open it to everyone. Intersectoral, meaning that we brought industry in. And this was really important because we get a different perspective. And actually, we're now joining science and industry more, which is really important to happen if you want to develop a digital economy, right? We are leaders in biomedical research, but if we don't have some aspect, if we don't start getting, especially with all the cuts, if we don't start getting industry involved, we will not survive these cuts that we're going through. The other thing, we try to make it more collaborative and encourage collaboration in diverse groups. We try to make it less intense or shorter, so it's not 48 hours like most are. We make ours 36 at most. We try to offer better food so faculty will come too. And much publicity saying that the event is for everyone. You don't have to have a computation background. We try to encourage more women personally to participate. And we try to attract extraordinary mentors that would attract different kinds of participants. So the second thing that I'm going to talk to you about is our new initiative, which is a summer biology research experience for undergraduates. It's the IQ, stands for interdisciplinary and quantitative. You have our link there. This was basically led by Juan Ramirez Lugo from biology. The biology department had a long time been trying to do an RU. And then what we did was join forces and add the computational component. So what do we do here? It's 9 weeks, 10 students plus others that are locals. The first year was in Puerto Rico. The second year was virtually, but I think both of them have been wonderful. And it actually, especially this year, showed the importance of having a computational component because we could actually do research that nobody else could do this summer because we still don't have our campus open. 50% are Puerto Rican in of our 10 students, and 60 to 70% have been women. And why has it been 60 to 70%? Because we look at the application pool and we aim to meet the application pool ratio. Characteristics, well, there's some characteristics that are true of all REUs. Ours was different because we actually did these other three. We did development on workshops on the use of computational tools for science. That includes learning how to code in Python and R, but also using apps that they could use for doing evaluation of our program, and also apps that they can use in their lab. Workshops on career development, research ethics, and others. So there's also, we had this year, STEM, Step Up STEM work, not just workshops, but gatherings. So those were more on the social and cultural activities. We did those kinds of things. And then we had guided writing activities. So these guiding writing activities had to do with writing abstracts, with writing proposals, like a mock proposal and a personal statement, and posters. And they give a presentation at the end. So, we try to focus a lot on communication of science. Here's what our first year looked like, and it was really good. It was a great experience, and having them here was really wonderful because they could see the island. But what we realized is that our hackathon was too late, and by the time they finished the hackathon, they wanted to continue. And as a matter of fact, what happened with the hackathon is a lot of people did continue with what they developed at the hackathon, and some of them are even creating businesses now, which was just unexpected. And so we had 4 of our Puerto Rican students continue the research on our campus. 3 of them were not from our campus, 1 of them was. So it really it's become a great tool for promoting the computational science on our campus. So some of the concepts were the career development workshops, were also stuff in imposter syndrome, scholarships and fellowships, unconscious bias. We did incorporate that. And then we always had topics that had to deal with the times. Like there was a whole series on COVID. There was another one. Now this was more on the social side of, what's happening in Puerto Rico in the protests. So kind of explaining what was going on in our community. So the first year we spread it out. The second year, what we've done this summer, especially since it's all online, we did it very top heavy. So we did all our training and computational before the 6th week. And then in the 6th week, we have the hackathon. And so now is really in the last 3 weeks is when they've been really able to focus on doing their work in the lab. And I can't tell you how much having it in the middle and how much that hackathon just boosted their confidence and helped them, focus on, okay, now I know what I need to do. Okay, so here's one of the quotes from one of our students. And here it goes. Puerto Rico was honestly such a transformative experience. I left so proud, full of being Latino, really, really proud. I wear my Rio Piedras lanyard everywhere here at the university. I may not be Puerto Rican, but we share so much in common. I think that's what getting me through the hard times here, is that I'm just not pursuing my goals for myself, but for my family and my wider community. So this quote shows that being in a community where it's a high research and it's in a community where they have lived that has normally not been associated with something like high research or high intellect, or that it's commonly been degraded, and here it was just, wow, I can see that. And I can understand that because I grew up in the United States and in a majority non-Latino neighborhood, and coming to Puerto Rico was also something really great for me to see, wow, there are so many PhDs here in Puerto Rico in science. And when I was growing up, I never saw Latino PhDs. So I think this is something that is so important. And most of our students are actually from underrepresented communities in computing. So I think this would really makes a big difference for them. Here, the next comment was, working here made me realize that I may be more interested in sociology than biology, but that has helped me to feel that computer science is accessible. It is possible that I will work in the field of sociology and incorporate the interest in computer science that I have gained here. So here, again, it just shows that we're encouraging students to go on to graduate school, even if it's not in biology, and that they see the power of computing in science. And this is so important. And so this is where we see that our efforts to increase data science are working. Unexpected outcomes. So one of the great unexpected outcomes that makes me so hopeful for the future is that and that we were not even measuring because we didn't think it, we didn't consider it, is that this was even having an effect on the PhDs and graduate students that are coming from these top universities, top research universities, these higher ed universities. They have come back, like they've requested to come back. And even this year where we didn't have it on, it's not because it's Puerto Rico, although they did say that they want to be invited again next year. But the point was that we're bringing these students because they want to make a difference in these communities, and they start to realize, even online, the digital divide, because they realize that they have to change the way that they speak and explain concepts that they don't normally have to explain in their communities. And this will make them better communicators of science. It'll help them become more empathetic of what is happening with the digital divide. So to end, it is evident that we need to create a network to reach all universities. This type of work is not sustainable without mutually beneficial collaborations with universities of higher and lower research activity. Right? In particular, we want to reach those universities that are majority minority and rural universities where formal undergraduate data science programs or the discipline has not been developed, especially given the times that we live in, where people are have doubts in science, and there's fake news, and there's a true need for people to have access to high quality data science course, at least one course that is accessible and that can connect them to these higher research institutions where they see that it's possible that they can be there too, and where they see that once they're there, they can give back their communities. And this is something that I feel is so important. We need, if we're taking from these communities and taking their best and constantly just taking their best, then of course there will be resentment, because then their communities get stuck in the past. They get stuck with basically economies that are declining, and that needs to change. And the only way that can change is by doing these mutually beneficial collaborations with universities of higher and lower research activity. Thank you.